Hi there and welcome. I'm glad to be here today for another live and thank you for tuning in. I've started doing lives on Fridays now instead of Wednesdays purely because maybe you've seen one of my posts or maybe my blog posts. I need the kids to be out of the house when this is done because our house is quite tiny. So if someone walks through the door, they'll practically end up in the kitchen, which is where I am. Or if someone needs to go to another room in the house, they'll just cross across the room and I won't be able to focus. So I thought I'd move this to a Friday, which works for me. And I know that there's the recording over here for all of you who maybe can't make it live, but I was kind of hoping that since it's on a Friday and everyone seems to be more relaxed on a Friday, since the weekend is coming up and a lot of you don't work weekends or you just change up your routines, I was hoping that maybe a little bit more of you might be up and available to watching this live. But anyhow, whether you're watching this live right now or whether you're watching the recording, I'd like to say hello and welcome. So the topic for today is to-do lists, and contrary to popular belief, I'm not a fan of them. I'm fine with the very short to-do lists, maybe those 3 or 4 items which I'll just need to remember and not forget. For example, let's say I'm in the kitchen and I'm cooking and I remember that I need to, I don't know, for example, take out the garbage tomorrow morning. So I'll just need to leave a little reminder maybe on the kitchen counter. Or I'm working and I'm working on a project and I remember I need to call a client. So in that case, yes, I might write it down. But more often than not, I do not use to-do lists. I definitely do not use the long to-do lists. And rather, I'm a fan of TADA lists. Now, some of you might have come across a post or two where I've spoken about TADA lists, and I think I'll start mentioning them more because it's such a positive thing, because we do so much. But somehow, we're so busy and we're so caught up in everything that sometimes we don't realize how much we're getting done. And some days are harder than others, and some days you might end up with a sink full of dishes or things thrown over the house. But you know what? That's okay. You managed to get the kids out of the house on time, you managed to feed them, you managed to get up, you managed to have a shower. So all is good. So I will be reintroducing TADA lists more frequently because they give us the confidence and the boost that we need to show ourselves that we can do it. And we are, mamas. So I just wanted to give you that extra encouragement. So back to to-do lists. So if you want to hear why I want you to throw yours away, yes, that's right, just crumple it up and throw it away, you'll have to stick with me, okay? So if you don't know who I am, my name is Nakita, and my mission is to help empower busy mamas just like you take control of their time to live the life that you truly want to live. So I'd like you to slow down and I'd like you to indulge in more me time, because when mama's happy, the family is happy, and you can take care of everyone else even better when you've taken care of yourself first. So the question for today is, are you a to-do list kind of girl? If you do use a to-do list, I'd like to get a yes. And if you have time to type away, because I know that a lot of you are multitasking, but if you do have the time, maybe even later, I'd like to know also what you use your to-do lists for. So I'm going to give you my answer in the meantime. I used to be a long to-do list kind of girl. In fact, I remember myself working at the office with a notebook that was my to-do list notebook. And my to-do lists never ended, literally, because I used to cross stuff out, and then at the end of the day, I used to rewrite my list, and my to-do list almost never finished. I mean, you get little tasks you need to do, you get the repetitive tasks. Of course, to keep ourselves busy, we try and come up with things to make our job more interesting. We're hard workers, so this to-do list never used to end. But I've since then refined my methods and completely ditched the to-do list. So if you see me working today, you'll never find a to-do list at my desk. My desk is completely clutter-free, no to-do lists, and I've come up with another solution. So, if you've just joined us, because I can see that there are a couple more people over here, I'm going to talk about to-do lists and I'm going to say why I'm not a fan and why I want you to throw yours away. So stick with me, okay? So, let me just see who's here today. In fact, if you were here, not last week, the week before during my live, something funny happened with the tech and I could see myself sideways on my phone, but apparently you could see me fine. So today I've got my TechMate with me, I've got my iPad, and I can actually hopefully see all of your comments, and I can check myself out on my Facebook page to see that everything is working fine. But okay, this is the first time I'm trying it and I actually can't see my own live. So that's fine, I'll look it up for next time. So let's do the old hello and just scroll through the names. So I can see Leanne. Hello Leanne. Hi Claire. Hello Maureen. Hello Amanda and Audrey and Bernadette and Katya, and hello to everyone. So let's continue. So shall we kick this off? Okay, so I know I've mentioned that I dislike to-do lists. Now, hate is a strong word, but it's very close to how I feel. And I've already said that the kind of lists that I will only use are the ones with the short and repetitive tasks that I might just forget, so I just need to scribble them somewhere. The rest of the stuff, I never use a to-do list. And here's why I hate to-do lists. Now, first of all, they are very overwhelming. I mean, seeing a list which is long-winded and never-ending, and we just keep adding on things which just pop into our head and we just list them over there, that overwhelms me. So I don't know how you feel about to-do lists, but having that long list, it just makes me anxious. I'm even getting anxious as I say it. So I also feel that they're not usually very actionable, because we tend to just write everything over there. So for example, if I'm going about my day and I'm thinking about, we need to repaint the spare room, for example. So I'll just write repaint spare room. Or else I need to cook dinner for 6 next week, and I'll just write like huge chunks of projects which actually shouldn't be on my to-do list, and I'll explain how to use it better. And to-do lists are never ending. You try to race to the bottom of it, but there's no bottom really, because you keep dragging on and adding items, and there's no structure at all. So you might have something very little at the top of your to-do list and a huge project just beneath it, something not so important that's following, something you need to get done right now, and they're all mumbled and jumbled, and you've got no idea as well how much time the things will take. Because you could have, for example, put school bag next to door, one of the items of the to-do list. That takes 30 seconds, at least for me, because my house is tiny. But that's so little compared to something like clear out the closet, for example, or batch cook chicken wraps, or I don't know, something, but there's no indication. So you've just got a list which is jumbled up. You've got important things, things which aren't important, things which will take you 5 minutes, things which will take you days, things which will take you an hour. So it can get a bit confusing. And they usually roll on to the next day as well, because God knows, I mean, I don't think I've ever gone to bed when I've used that to-do list and said, right, I'm done, throw it away, yay. No, I usually continue writing things for the next day. So then it's, for example, clean shoes, take food out of the freezer, and pack lunches, and it goes on and on and on. And you have a permanent to-do list right there on your kitchen counter, on your phone, and it just goes on and on. And of course, for the sake of temporary relief, we just jot down anything and everything that comes to our head, and even things that we should not be doing or we could not be doing, but just because we feel better when we write it down, anything that comes to mind just goes on the to-do list. So for example, maybe there's a project that your better half could handle, or it's something that you kind of feel you should be doing, but you're not sure, but you write it down anyway, and just you think of something and you write it, and this to-do list just gets longer and longer and longer. And you start veering away from what's important as well, because since there is no indication of the important stuff and the stuff which can wait, or the stuff which is not as important, and for the simple reason that it feels so good when you cross out something out of your to-do list, right? I think that most of us love using a to-do list because it feels so good when you cross out. But when you think about this intentionally, what are you crossing out? Because if you're only crossing out, put bags near the door, take the trash out, take the food out of the freezer. If you're only crossing out little things, which, I mean, okay, yeah, they need to be done, But the more important things, like clear out the closet, or I don't know, things which really make a difference, aren't getting crossed out. You just keep postponing because you want to cross out the little tasks. You're working so hard to make your list smaller that we're not looking at what's important, but we're looking at what we can remove very quickly from our lists. So we can very quickly lose focus as well when you're using a to-do list. Okay, so let's go on to the more important stuff. I'm going to tell you what I do instead of using a to-do list. Now, if you love the feeling of writing your long list just because you like getting things done, you are going to love this. Your to-do list is going to become what I like to call your brain dump. So yes, now is the time to write down all the nagging things that you've got running around in your brain, starting from your personal stuff to stuff that needs to get done in the home, to stuff for the kids, to stuff that you need to buy, to huge projects, to things that you need to do at work. Every little thing should go into this to-do list, which we're eventually going to trash, okay? But for now, I need you all to just write things down. So whatever you can think of, write it down. And once you've listed all of your to-dos, we're going to go on to the next step. Now, if you're doing this for the first time, you're going to have so many things that come to mind, and it's fine. You should list them all. And you can even, if you wish, use a separate piece of paper for different types of to-do lists. So for example, if you've got a lot of tasks for the home, and then lots of stuff that you need to buy, and then maybe lots of personal stuff, you might want to split them if you think that that works better for you. You might find it easier if you're trying to cope with a lot of to-dos. And then the next step is to look at your list with a fresh pair of eyes. So we're going to analyze your list. We're going to look at each and every item that we've listed, and we're going to do some thinking. We're going to ask ourselves some questions, and we're going to be honest with ourselves as well, because we don't want to be rash and just say, okay, I have this on my list, this needs to get done, and it will get done. No, instead, we're going to ask ourselves, do I want to do this? So as moms, and as women as well, we love to say yes. We love to serve, we love to help, we love to be there for each other, especially when it comes to our kids and our families. And we usually just say yes without hesitation. So if that sounds like you, I want to get a yes. It's me as well, but I've taken a step back and I kind of think about things before I just say yes, because I feel like I'm not serving myself, and I'm also not serving the people who I really want to focus on, because our day is only made up of X amount of hours, and no matter how many time management strategies we use, we've only got so much energy and so many hours in the day. So we've got to think about things. We cannot just say yes to every single thing that comes our way. We have choices. We can make choices. You have to understand that every single thing that you do is a decision, and nothing is happening to you, but you always decide on what you want to do. So for example, when you're looking at your list and you're asking yourself if you want to do that specific thing, you need to be honest here. So think about, for example, an event that you've been invited to and you don't really want to go. You shouldn't feel obliged. If you don't want to go, you can very politely say no. You can be very honest about it. There's nice ways of saying no as well. You just don't, you don't need to say, no, I don't feel like it, but you can be honest. You can say, listen, I would love to be there, but I've got other priorities, so unfortunately I cannot make it. That's fine. I'd be very appreciative of someone who'd say that to me, rather than someone who just doesn't turn up. So people do appreciate honesty. Think about that meeting that you're only going to because you feel obliged as well. But if you don't want to do it, you might as well just go out and say it. You don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste other people's time as well. You can say no. Other things which you might not want to do, for example, cooking dinner for 8 people. Let's say you're inviting people over to your house, but you really don't want to cook dinner for 6 people because you don't feel like it. You want the company, but you don't feel like cooking for 6 people. So you can be very honest, especially if there are people who are close to you, and you can say, listen guys, I would absolutely love your company, but I'm so drained and I don't feel like cooking. Would you like to come and get takeout instead? You know, I can host you inside of my home. I'd love to have you there. I'd love to share my space with you. I'd love to spend time with you, but I just do not feel like cooking. I'm sure everyone would be perfectly okay with that. So as you go through your lists, you should ask yourself if you want to do the thing that's listed. So I'm just going to have a little break and I'm going to say hello to some people who have joined. And hello, Maureen says hey. And hi, Romina and Ingrid. Hello to Karen and Michaela and Crystal. Okay, so let's continue after I have my little break. So the next question you should ask yourself is, do I need to do this? Sometimes we also do things that we do not need to do. For example, ironing underwear, preparing a homemade cake, going overboard with preparing or decorating your 3-year-old's birthday party. All of these things are things which you can do, but which you don't need to do. For example, underwear doesn't need to be ironed if you don't want to do it. Homemade cakes, if you're invited to someone's place, they'd be just as happy if you passed by and bought a really nice cake from somewhere. And kids who are 3 years old will appreciate the time that you've spent with them and won't remember the pretty pink ribbons decorated everywhere. So you need to ask yourself if you actually need to do whatever you intend on doing. So that's the second question. Now, some options as well. Remember, you've always got options. So you can ask yourself, can I ask someone else to do this? There are some things that you don't need to do yourself. And we need to be ready to ask for help. Sometimes you can also pay to get things done if it pays you. If you're overloaded and you can afford to pay to get something done, you don't need to feel guilty about it. So just pay and get it done and get it off your list, okay? Help from family members. A family is called a family because it's made up of different people under the same roof who share the same love for each other, and you are a team. So if you're busier than usual and you think that your 10-year-old can help with taking the trash out, making his younger sister's bed, helping with serving dinner, putting dishes in the dishwasher, you should ask for help. Same goes with your better half. Because sometimes, and I do it as well, we very wrongly think that because we've been with someone for 10, 20 years, they read our minds. And this isn't true at all. So when we need something, we need to be very specific and we need to ask for it. So we shouldn't kind of blame other people, because we shouldn't think that if we're in a panicked state, if we're too busy, we should never assume that someone else can see how busy we are and we'll just pitch in and know exactly what we need. No, we have to be vocal. So it's more like, for example, I've got lots of stuff to do and I know that you're capable of doing X, Y, Z. Do you think you can handle it for me? Because I would feel so much better if I know that this is taken care of. That's it. But you need to be specific. So if you want someone to paint the front door purple, you need to be vocal. So you need to tell that someone that you need the front door painted purple. It's useless saying that the front door isn't looking good and something needs to be done with it. No. You need to say that you'd like the front door to be painted purple, and like that, the other person knows exactly what you need. You can put your mind at rest because the other person knows exactly what you'd like done, and the probability is that your requests will be met because that someone would like to help out and can just proceed with your instructions. So remember, ask someone else to do it if you can, pay for someone to get things done. Especially if you're not particularly capable of the task that you've got at hand. It might take someone a quarter of the time or a very small fraction of the time to do it because you don't know how to do it. Let's say you've got problems with your plumbing, for example. There is no way I would be able to fix that. I mean, well, probably if I opened YouTube and in the internet and I browsed, I'd probably maybe even managed to solve it after a lot of hours and blood, tears and sweat. But I could get someone at the house and get it done in 30 minutes flat. So which is the best decision out of the two? And also always involve your family members because they can always help as well. Now, something else. you can also break down your lists into smaller lists as well. I mentioned projects. So for example, if you want to clear your closet, it's pretty useless writing down, for example, clear closet, because if you need to buy storage containers, for example, you cannot just say, okay, I'll clear my closet tomorrow, and you'll open your closet and realize that you've got nowhere to store your summer clothes because you need containers. So you just huff and puff, close it up, and call it a day, and say, oh no, can't get it done, I tried, whatever. Now, if you break this task into smaller to-dos, so it's, for example, buy the storage containers, look up some inspiration, for example, on Pinterest for a mood board so I can know exactly what to hold on to and exactly what to chuck. Download my resource, because I've got a fantastic resource for changing around your wardrobe. I will link it in the comments as well. But anyhow, when it's a larger project, rather than just pick up an item from somewhere and put it somewhere else, it's a good idea to break the task down to make it less daunting. And also, it's all about baby steps. So once you get the first step down, most likely you'll follow on to the next one. And if you follow these steps, your list probably looks so much more doable already and not half as overwhelming as it looks in the beginning. And now, what I want you to do next, before we throw away that to-do list, is I want you to whip out that calendar, and I want you to start assigning specific tasks to specific days, and you're going to choose which days you're going to do those tasks on, and also how much time you need to allocate. Now, this is the time where you get to be really intentional, because as you look at your to-do list and you look at the items that are on there, you can actually breathe a little bit better, because you've got tasks which are broken down. You've got stuff which has been crossed off because you don't need to do it, you don't want to do it, you've passed it on, someone else from your family is doing it, you're paying someone to get it done. And also, those large projects, you can actually allocate specific times and days in your calendar, so everything looks so much more manageable than what we started off in the beginning, okay? So we're going to start assigning tasks. Now, for the bigger tasks, we're going to tackle them separately. So I don't really imagine that a lot of us have got like empty days where we can do 10 small items after each other. So we'll just, for example, assign the shopping for the containers on one day because you're passing through Mosta, for example, and you can stop somewhere over there. And then you can do the mood board thing maybe on a Friday night because you're not going out and you're going to just chill on the sofa with your husband and just browse online. So we're going to break them down. And these little tasks are going to be assigned to the calendar as I am explaining. Now, after you have assigned all of the tasks to your calendar, and also if there are some tasks which need to be done on a repetitive basis, so for example, if you feel that you need to clear out your daughter's accessory cupboard once a month, and I think I need to do that actually, I need to assign a monthly task because it's one of the drawers, it's actually a drawer that Nina just opens and just looks for her hair clips because she's using her hair clips on her dolls, on her stuffed animals, on her hair, and it's always a disaster. So if there's anything that you feel that you need to be doing on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, on a bi-yearly basis, you can also do recurring tasks. And once you're done, you can just crumple that to-do list and throw it away. And I know that now you can breathe so much better knowing that everything can and will get done because it's been assigned to a day when you know you can do it and your mind is free. You can just focus because you know that everything will be tackled in its own time. So I'm just going to say hello because we are actually done with the to-do list part. I hope you've enjoyed it. And Victoria is here, so hello. And Jessica says, or hire a closet organizer. Well, Jessica, if you feel that this is not your thing and you'd rather get it hired out, of course you can. I mean, everyone has different things that they're good at. So for example, I love organizing myself, but I hate, for example, cleaning my car. That's a killer. So I'd rather, instead of write clean my car inside of my calendar, I'd rather write something like call the car cleaning people to come over and get it washed while the car is parked over here. So yes, if you feel that you should hire a closet organizer and that's your thing, just go, do it. It's done. You can stop thinking about it. So yeah. And hi Charmaine, and hi Tony, hi Crystal, hello Michaela and Karen. So if you've got any questions at all about today's live, I'd love to get your feedback, your questions over here in the comments, and I'd love to help out. So send me a message as well, private message if you don't feel comfortable just writing in the comments. And I hope that this helps you out to some extent, because I always feel so much freer without having that to-do list, which just keeps growing and looks untidy and gets lost, and Nina draws on it sometimes as well. This feels so much better. And sometimes you might be tempted to write a to-do list, or you might feel that you need to write a to-do list because there's so much stuff in your head, you cannot just put them in a calendar. So yeah, just get a piece of paper, use it as a brain dump, as I've explained, and just go through the motions of the to-do list process, turn it into a brain dump, and assign it to your calendar, as I've just explained. So I hope this is helpful to you, mamas, and I'm going to go right ahead and wish you a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you all again next week on Friday. So take care. It's been lovely to be here with you. Goodbye.